My guest today knows what it means to start over. She's gone from writing sitcoms in Hollywood with such names that we know, Roseanne and the Wild Thornberrys, to name a few, to running a nutrition business, to becoming a novelist, also whilst raising a family and navigating life's big shifts. She speaks from the heart about womanhood, identity, and what it really takes to reinvent yourself. Her latest novel, When People Leave, is a moving story about three sisters coping with their mother's suicide and the secrets she left behind. It's a powerful look at family, forgiveness, and the quiet strength of women finding their way through loss. An award winner many times over, Leslie lives in Southern California with her husband and two sons. Leslie, you are very welcome.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Delighted to have you from all the way from Southern California.
Yes, very far
And
away.
it is. And though we're in a different time zone, isn't it just amazing, Leslie, that, if we think back to our younger days and we never thought it would be possible to be able to have a conversation in different time zones over and where we can see and hear each other and to share that amazing space, even though we are hours apart.
No, it's great. I mean, that's the one thing COVID gave us is that we can now do a lot of this, which is wonderful.
Yeah. So I'm delighted to have you here. As with all my guests, I love to know, I can see from your bio and from your work on Facebook and all over the world, that you have an amazing career. But let's go back to younger Leslie and what she was like and what were her dreams and aspirations growing up.
Growing up, I wasn't about writing. I really just wanted to be an actress. I
Mm.
wanted to be on a sitcom. I just idolized, I don't know if you guys got the sitcom One Day at a Time with Valerie Bertinelli, and did you get
Mm.
that? It
Not
would be
that
a
I
long
was
time
aware
ago.
of, yeah.
But I just wanted to do something like that. So, we made movies, we did plays, we did all kinds of things as a child. I did a ton of that kind of thing. And then I thought, okay, I'm still going to be an actress. So I went to UCLA and I started acting and I did some commercials. I did a small part in a movie. I did a few things. And then something hit me one day. I was on one of the sets for a commercial and the director would not talk to me. I was 21, but I was playing like a 14, 15-year-old because I'm very small. And he wouldn't talk to me directly. He'd talk to me like I was furniture. And it hit me for some reason like I don't want to be an actress. I don't, obviously actors that become very famous, they're not trained like that, treated like that. But I just something hit me. I didn't go to college to be treated like this. And so I stopped. And at that point is when I started working in the studios. And I was an assistant on different shows. And during that time is when I decided I wanted to write sitcoms because I thought it would be fun, which it was. So that's kind
Wow.
of how it went about.
And tell me about writing sitcoms, because obviously you write books and novels now as well. But even, the idea, because we remember Roseanne here in Ireland, as I'm sure they do across the world. And, we were all laughing our bellies, at all of the funny things that were happening. And I suppose we could see parts of ourselves and our lives in it, even though theirs was always humorous, even if there was serious challenges or whatever going on. But when you started writing sitcom, like where did the inspiration come from?
Well, mostly at the time, it was just to get a job.
Yeah.
When you write sitcoms, you're really writing for somebody else. It's not your characters, it's not your actors, it's not any of that stuff. So the inspiration really came from the person who created the show and the actors. And then we would go in and write scripts, and they would say, this season, this is going to be the arc. And what I loved about Roseanne was it dealt with real life situations but in a way where they could have sarcastic humor and they could have different things said that would kind of undercut sometimes. Like you always got the feeling they loved each other.
Yeah.
So my inspiration for any writing has always been I write more women's fiction, but my first and my last book it has been read by many men. My second book is really more women's fiction, but I love to write about women's issues at different times of their lives and relationships, marriage, kids, all of that, um, and with humor. But it might have something very serious in the book, but I always like to undercut some of it with humor.
Yeah. Are you a humorous person? Naturally, do you see the funny side of life? Would you be known as a comical person when you were growing up? How would people have described you?
Not funny outright. I mean, I'm funny on paper. I never say like I'm not like quick and I'm not like a comedian or anything like that. So I don't think people would say, oh my gosh, she's going to be funny. But I can be sort of that sarcastic funny. And I kind of got that from my dad. We would have family dinners every night, and I have two sisters, and we would all be at the table. And my dad had a very dry sense of humor. So he would say something and he would say it very quietly. And whoever was sitting closest to him would hear it at any family dinner, any kind of event. And we'd all start laughing. And so I kind of developed that a little bit from him is, like with my kids and my husband, I'll sort of snap back with something, but I'm not like funny, like, off the cuff all the time. No, that's not who I am. I'm just
No.
better on paper.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. It's amazing. I remember saying to somebody, sometimes we write better than we portray ourselves, I suppose, in person, or that we can let go, I suppose, or kind of let go of the reins and express ourselves through our words, or as in your case, through the characters in your books. So for that is beautiful. Do you have to have an amazing imagination? Is it from all the books you've read yourself, the sitcoms you've written for? Is it an accumulative kind of effort of everything that you've done?
I think it is, but I also am not one of those people that has like 50 ideas sitting on my desk that I just pull one out and say, okay, I'm going to write a book about this.
Yeah.
For me, it has to inspire me, it has to hit my heart. I always say I write from the heart because those are the kind of books I want to write. And so inspiration is just sort of like I'll be somewhere and hear something, and I read a lot, or I see something on the news that kind of sparks, like, oh, that could be an interesting thing. And I'll try to turn it into something to make a book. But as far as inspiration goes, it's sort of like as everything comes together.
Yeah, I love that. It's nearly like, you're driving in your car and you hear things on the radio and something kind of just hits in your head and you're like, oh, I must remember that. That's really good. And sometimes it's those little subliminal things that just are kind of passing in the waves and we might grab onto it and it could become a story for you, which I love. And in your latest book, and it's been described as many things, which is beautiful. And somebody wrote, it's a testament to resilience, redemption, and endearing bonds between mothers and daughters. But it is a heartbreaking loss, as it's described, a life-changing secret. And will the truth bring three daughters closer together or tear them apart? As they are filled with mixed emotions after their beloved mother took their own life without leaving a note. Already people will be intrigued, won't they, Leslie? It's like,
Yeah.
why? Because I think again, it's like, that straight away for me, it's the curiosity of like, well, why did she do that? And, how are they going to react to, firstly, their mother passing, which is tragic in itself, but not leaving a note. And then they go and find out that there is lots of history behind her. Do you want to tell us a little bit more without giving it all away, of course?
Yeah, no, I won't give anything away. Well, I wanted to write something. First of all, I wanted to write something about sisters because I have two, but I wanted to make sure it was completely different than any of my sisters or me. So it's not any way biographical. Um, but I thought, what if this mother, everything's great. She's a single mother. They love her. Everything seems great. And she takes her own life. And they have no idea why. So the whole point of it was for them to go through, they go back into their childhood home where they grew up and they start going through her things because they really need to find out. And they have a myriad of emotions because they're angry at her for doing this, because which is normal to be very angry, like, why would you leave us? But they're also obviously grieving. So, and they're trying to figure out why she would do it. So between all of their kind of discoveries, they find out all these secrets and they have clues that lead them on this path to finding out what's going on and why she did it. And through that, they find out that some of the decisions that they didn't even know they were making for a reason that of some secret that she had, they made these decisions in their lives. And I wanted the book also to go back into their own lives so you could see like why they did certain things. And they realize, hey, maybe this is why I am the way I am once they figure out all the secrets.
Mm.
So that's kind of it's not a mystery, so to speak, in the mystery category of books, but there is a mystery. So it's more like psychological fiction about these relationships, but there's a mystery that you follow to try to get to the end to figure out why she did it. So the audience can figure it out just as well as the daughters.
Yeah. And even in it as well, the elements of grief, and coming together as sisters again, and living in their childhood home, which as adults we wouldn't normally do. But after a tragic event, it's like something people do. Families come together, isn't it, to support each other. And again, even to work out, why their mom would do this. And even I love that you said that the anger, because I think it really is a natural emotion to have after, I suppose it's not a sickness you're dealing with. It's, when somebody takes their own life. Was it a hard thing to write about or to bring up in a novel for you, Leslie?
No, because my father passed away from medical issues and we had a very close relationship and he died about 9 years ago. And there was a piece of me that was angry, not like at him, so to speak, but at him.
Mm,
Like, why did you leave? And I understood why. He had medical issues and he had a heart attack and he passed away. And he was 80, just about 86. So it wasn't like he was young. But at the same time, as sad as I was, there was also this little bit of anger like, why'd you leave me? I still
mm,
need you. I still want you around. And so I thought, well, I want to tap into that. So, and especially in this way for the sisters, because since their mother obviously took her own life, they're angry at her for that. But
mm,
grief is a weird thing because grief goes up and down. I still get sad after 9 years when I think about my dad. I mean, obviously, time, goes by, but grief is never linear. It's something that kind of might hit you sadness and then anger and then denial, like they're not really gone. And there's so many different steps of grief before you
mm,
kind of come into, okay, I kind of accept that. And everybody takes a different amount of time.
mm,
So it wasn't hard for me to get in there and sort of go, okay, also somebody that my husband and I knew very well, who we thought everything was great, and he was running a show on TV, and he was happy, we thought. And we saw him at a restaurant. And he was a very big personality, and he took his own life. Now, his
mm,
family knew why. We found out later, but we didn't know why. We thought, here's this funny comedy guy who's always got
mm,
friends and always doing all this stuff. And he was very depressed. But the outside world didn't know.
mm.
So I thought that would be an interesting thing.
Yeah. So again, even, through your own experience of grief and then knowing somebody that chose to take their own life for their reasons and, the public not knowing, again, those personal experiences, how we can embroider them into a novel because they are realities of the human experience. And they are part of our life, whether we like it or not. And just as you spoke about grief, it's something we're all going to experience at some stage in our lives. And how readers, I suppose, will resonate with that grief in their own way and certain aspects of it, even with the anger and the denial and the sadness. And just like you speaking about your lovely dad, even after 9 years, there's days where you just go, oh, I'd love to talk to him today. And that isn't it. And then all of a sudden it's that, oh, he's not here any longer. Yeah, yeah, that's amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's amazing. So when you were thinking about the three sisters, obviously having two sisters yourself, was that kind of like you knew the dynamic, of having three sisters, three siblings together in a house as well? And even, that with your sisters, kind of, I suppose, the relationship you'd have. Where are you in the sister? Are you middle, start, last?
I'm the middle sister. And yes, I mean, some of the dialogue, my sisters and I get along great. And we had fights when we were young, but now we're all adults and we get along really well. But I wanted to show that because when we get together, sometimes we kind of revert to, we'll bring up something that somebody did when we were like 10 or 12 or whatever and say, I can't believe you did that. And I love that the sisters can go back to their childhood home and almost revert back to their middle school selves where they're fighting over the same stuff they fought over before.
Mm.
So I used the sisters are completely different, but I used some of my childhood and some of our own fights that we had and arguments to put in the book because I think it feels realistic when you do that, when you take from your life.
Mm.
And so there's certain situations and then certain conversations, like the whole conversation about the salads, where it's like, you like avocado. No, you like beets. No, I don't. And they're switching salads. That's real.
Yeah.
And every time we get together with my mother, she'll say something like, oh, you're the one that likes beets. I'm like, no, I'm the one that likes this. She likes beets. So it's the same thing over and over again that we still have these conversations. So I always, in all my books, I always put parts of my childhood in, no matter what. Whether my first book, Maggie, the protagonist, has a great relationship with her father. And I wrote that book, and unfortunately, I just hadn't finished the book before my dad passed away.
Oh.
And I know he would have loved it. He was a writer, he would have loved the book. So I went back in that book and I tweaked the father to be like my father. So that's the only character that I've ever written that was pretty biographical in certain ways. So Maggie's conversations with him, some of the things she does with him, that was biographical because I really wanted to do that. And it was really special to me to do that. And the book is dedicated to my father also.
Oh.
But every book I write has something from my childhood in it.
I love that. And what a lovely way to honor your father as well, isn't it, in your first book, to have
Yeah.
his personality almost shine through in the characters as well, and your relationship with him, which is something that is beautiful. And I always think about, obviously, don't write fiction, and mine is obviously based on real life events, but I often thought about, writing fiction and how you would bring elements of the people that you've had in your lives or have now at the moment or the experiences you've had without kind of identifying it is as that person, but maybe taking some of their traits or some of those life experiences, the good and not so good as well, and bringing it in. Do you think it's lent to us, I suppose, as we have more life experience that we become better storytellers, Leslie?
I do. I don't think I could have written any of these books when I was a lot younger, especially like the first book is based on a woman. She's 45. She's going through her second chapter of her life. Her daughter's leaving for college. All of that came from friends, from myself, how we felt. I couldn't do that until I got to that point.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I definitely think that whatever experience we have. I mean, I couldn't write nonfiction. I just don't know how people do it. I'm so impressed by people who do it because it's like so out of my comfort zone. But writing fiction to me, even though the books are not biographical, I can put things in that make it more real. And so I just think like for me that time, each time I go through, whatever decade I go through, it allows me to come up with some new stuff that I've gone through.
Mm. I think that's beautiful because I think there has to be parts of yourself in everything that you create as well, even with your sitcoms. And even though there might have been, well, this is the arc for that season, but you're putting a little bit of yourself in as well in your experience as well, which is lovely. So there's parts of you everywhere, Leslie, all over the world, which is beautiful. And in your books, isn't that amazing? Isn't it really to think of
Yes.
that? Yeah. Well, and again, when you left the business of writing sitcoms, and then you went to run a nutrition business, where did that change come for you?
So when my youngest went to kindergarten, I was like, I want to do something during the day. I don't know what that is. And I met with a life coach and I kept wanting to go back to TV, but I couldn't for so many reasons. But the main reason was the hours. I mean, I would work till 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. I could not do that. I didn't want to do that to my kids. I wanted to watch them grow up and be there for whatever they needed. So I started to think with the coach, what am I good at? What do I like? And I always worked out and I always tried to eat healthy. So I thought, okay, that's something I can do. So I went back and got a master's degree. I opened up my own business. I did some interning with another nutritionist, and then I opened my own business and I ran it from my house. So I had the hours I could book whatever I wanted to, so I could always be done by the afternoon when I was picking up my kids. And I did that for 10 years. And during the last maybe year and a half or so, I just missed writing. I
Mm.
was like, oh, I got to write again. So I started writing personal essays, very humorous essays. Some were about nutrition, but most of them were about my family and my kids and, going off to summer camp the first time or going off to college. I just kept writing them. And one of the editors at Huffington Post really liked my writing. So I think there's like 20 up there now. Lately, I haven't written any because I've been so busy with books, but I think I have a bunch, like 20 up there and on my website. And so that kind of got me going again. And then I thought, I really want to do this. I don't know what I want to do in the writing arena, but I knew I wanted to do it. So I closed my business and I started going to conferences and just, it wasn't about writing a book. It was more just kind of educating myself and doing research. And at one of these conferences, I met two women, and one of them was a writing coach. And the other woman, we just got along really, really well. It was very interesting how we met in line. We started talking about nutrition. It was just
Wow.
wild. And now we're like very close friends. I mean, after all these years. But it was just like a random thing where you start talking to somebody and you realize we have so much in common. And she had always wanted to write. So the two of us took this coaching class with this other coach, which was a lot of like prompts where they give you a prompt and then you go off and write and then you come back. And during those prompts is when I started to realize I was creating a character and a place. And so as that time went on, I thought maybe I should try to see if I can write a book. And so that was a long process of learning and reading other books about writing and all that kind of stuff because it's very different from writing essays and from writing sitcoms. Very different. So, you have to describe everything. You have to create the sets. You have to use your imagination to do everything. Where in television, it's already done for you. And you have the actors. So you just have to write to those characters. You don't have to create everything in your own head. So it was a long process, but after I finished it, I realized I can do this. So then the next book was much faster and the next book was much faster. But yeah, it was a long process. But that's why I went into nutrition is because I was just looking for something to sort of fill myself, but it just wasn't exactly what I wanted.
Fascinating. And I love that because, when you speak about women reinventing themselves, that's why I said, again, with our lived experience, I think because of our environment or circumstances, especially as mothers, and we want to be there for our children as much as possible, that we want something that we can work around our children. So finding someone that you like. But what amazed me is when you said then when you went to this conference and you met the two ladies and it was nutrition that was the thing you had in common together. And for me, that's more like synchronicity because you met these people at the right time because you had nutrition in common. You started this conversation, and then through that commonality, then it became, oh, we can support each other, in our writing going forward, which led you into, I suppose, a stronger belief in writing your
Mhm.
nonfiction novels, which is really powerful, I think, as well. Do you believe in synchronicity? Have you seen it in your life, Leslie?
Oh, I have for sure. I mean, I'm Jewish and it's such a strange thing, but I'll go to a new class and I don't know why all these Jewish people will come and start talking to me. It's like this thing you put out, but I mean, my last name's not Jewish because my husband's not. So it's not like they would hear my last name and go, oh, she's Jewish too. But there's a community of people and when I wrote my first book, the publisher had like we were doing Zooms with people that were in publishing at the same time, and it was during COVID. So we all got to know each other so well. And I'm still very close with them. And most of them live on the East Coast, in here in America. And so it's like, but we're really close. We talk all the time. We have seen each other. We've gone to a conference to meet each other in person. And there's that closeness. So with synchronicity, I just think if you put yourself in a place where you have stuff in common with other people,
Mm,
you're gonna just find them.
mm.
I mean, and the funny thing is, this was a writing conference, and we were talking about nutrition as we were going through the buffet. We were picking things out, and we're like, "What do we eat? What do we eat?" And we were trying to be healthy in this buffet, and that led to this conversation. And then this woman turns out she's great at giving notes, so I always send her my books because she hasn't even published anything, but she's so good because she reads everything and she reads all the time. So she's really great at giving notes. I thought she was better than the writing coach. But so I always go to her and she's just so helpful. So yes, I do believe in synchronicity. I believe that we attract people that are like us and that we want to be around.
Yeah. And that we can also learn from as well, Leslie, because that's one of the things I love from reading is you're always going to find things that you didn't know before, even if it's a nonfiction book, because there's elements, as I said, of our human experience, especially in your last book, that we could all, connect with, and even get a feel for the writer themselves, because I'm sure you do shine through. You may think that you don't, but I feel that you do. Because even talking to
I
you,
hope I do.
yeah, I think you do because even though it's a nonfiction book, and it's
You mean
imagined
fiction. You said
fiction.
nonfiction. You
Sorry, yeah,
mean
it's
fiction.
fiction.
I was like,
Excuse me.
oh,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
fiction. But it's like you're very grounded as well in your energy. That's what I feel from you. So it's kind of like if you set your mind to something, it's like you're going to finish it. It doesn't matter how long it takes, you're going to get it
Yeah.
done. Are you like
I'm
that?
very disciplined, I'm very organized, and I don't give myself an actual date. Like, I don't say this book is coming out this date until it gets a little bit closer, like maybe 6 months when I know I can get it done. But because I do work well under deadlines, but I would rather not do this is a job, the writing fiction is a job that I created for myself. So I don't want to give myself deadlines. I'd rather make it perfect than to give myself a deadline.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, because it's not skimping on details and not pushing yourself to somebody else's deadline. It's your own and creating because it's lovely to, it's like another baby, isn't it? It's giving it out to the world, isn't it
Yes.
really?
It does feel like that because, at least with babies, you're not vulnerable that somebody's going to tell you your baby's ugly.
Yeah.
It's like with reviews, people say things that you just think, and they'll sometimes give you like, this 5 stars on Amazon. They'll sometimes my one of my best reviews I ever got, they only gave me 3 stars. But what she wrote was so beautiful that I actually had somebody who interviewed me read it back to me because she was like, I was shocked. She only gave you 3 stars because it was a rave. I think some people don't understand that 5 stars is a rave and 4 star, the whole thing,
Yes.
but it was really funny. But when you put a book out in the world, you have no idea if anybody's going to like it or if they're going to just trash you, in the reviews. And I haven't been trashed, thank God.
Yeah,
But,
I know.
yeah.
That's the main thing. But I suppose it is very hard, isn't it, being a writer? I suppose you're putting out, this work. You've spent so much time and effort, research, and then you're sending it out there and waiting for people to say, yes, this is good. Does it really, really hurt you like that if somebody gave you a bad review on your book or it was a bad write-up in a paper? Would that hurt you personally?
On the first book, it did. I got, one review, the first review that came in that not the first review, because I got a lot of really great reviews
Yeah.
on that book, but one of the reviews that came in was not nice. And the only time I got upset was when they went after me personally. I had gotten so many great reviews, and this person wrote, it actually was taken down. I got Amazon to take it down because it was like, they said something like, oh, I don't believe any of these 5 reviews. I think this author paid people to write reviews for her book. And I contacted Amazon and I said, this is not right. They can't write that. They can say they hate the book. That's fine. But they can't put that on me that I paid people. Like, what a weird thing to write. And there were like 200 reviews. So I paid 200 people to write nice things. I mean, so Amazon agreed. They will take it down if it's personal. But people are, yeah, the very first book, the first bad review I got, I was like, whoa. And then I started to go, you know what? Everybody has an opinion. There's books I did not like that other people loved, and vice versa. So it doesn't bother me anymore. It only bothers me like if somebody goes after me.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's their personal opinion. But again, as you said, not everybody is going to love us or love our books, so
Or
that's
like the
part.
characters.
Or
I
like the
mean, that's,
characters, and
yeah.
they think, oh, you should have made her do this, and why didn't you make her more like that? And again, that's nice in a way because they're really looking at the character and they're saying she would have been or he would have been better,
Right.
whatever.
They get
So
invested.
very, oh my God, I remember reading books when I was younger and I didn't want them to end. I never wanted the story to end. And I used to sit and feel quite sad because I felt like my friends
Hmm.
for quite a while. And I feel like that with books, and I think a lot of readers feel like that. So again, I think you'll get something from every single book that you read. And if people are looking to give a bad review, I think they would do that with a lot of people, not just you, to be honest,
No,
Leslie.
I know. In my first book, I ended it. It's not a happy ending, but it's a hopeful ending. And I had some readers contact me through my email and say, "What happened to these characters? I need to know." Most people really loved the way I ended it, but there were people. So I actually wrote an epilogue and I'd send it out to anybody who said, "What happened to these characters?" Because I felt like, well, you should know if you really want to know. And I loved it because it did feel like they got so invested in the book that they wanted to know what the future was. So
Oh.
I wrote it.
Oh, I think that's wonderful. Even for you to do that, because some writers will just go, oh, they leave them guessing, and out there in the ether. But I think that's so wonderful as well, because if they took, I suppose, their time reading it and then to email you, they really were invested. And lovely for you to give them something back. So that's a lovely
Yeah.
touch, Leslie. That's really,
I
really
just
kind.
I just wanted to do it. I loved the way I ended it because I had like 10 endings and I ended up ending it a different way. And that book, the first book, is right now the screenwriter's writing it because an actress got a hold of it and she wants to play the part. So a screenwriter's writing it, and they came to me and they said, "We are not changing the ending." And the actress said, "Do not change the ending." I love that it's hopeful, but it's not, it's like life. It's not tied up in a little ribbon. My other two books have happy endings, but this book, I really wanted it to just be like real life, where people just go, "Oh, okay, well, that makes sense."
I love that. I love it. So you're doing a lot of interviews and meeting a lot of people, and I'm sure you're doing book signings and all of that. The book was released in May. And how have you felt going out there, knowing this is your third book now? How does that feel?
It feels great because I know with each book I've learned something. And so, like when I wrote this book, I know I learned something from the other two. And so it feels really good. And this book has been very well received. So that makes me happy too. So when I go out there, I do book clubs. I do a lot of virtual book clubs also, because obviously, if you're not in Los Angeles,
Yes.
I can't come, but I have gone to book clubs too. I just went, my mother is, she's 80, God, oh my God, she's 88 years old. I was going to say 86. She's 88 years old and she lives up Northern California. And so I was just there a couple weeks ago. Every book that comes out, I do her book club. And these women are amazing. They're all, most of them are in their late 70s, 80s, and they really, ask a lot of great questions. And I love that they push back on things like, I don't think she would have done that. I wouldn't have done that. It's so much fun to do her book club because secrets come out. I mean, they're willing to tell me stuff that they never told anybody else. And so everybody's sitting around saying, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. So it's really fun to go to book clubs. But normally I do the ones in LA that I go to, but I do a lot of virtual book clubs. And I love them because I love listening to what other people want to ask me and other people take from what I wrote because sometimes it wasn't intentional. And they will, because of themselves, they'll read something into it and I'll think, wow, that's really introspective, but I didn't for the character, but I didn't even see it.
Wow.
So, I don't know if it's subconscious on my part or it's their part, but I love hearing stuff like that.
Oh, that's beautiful. And so lovely for the readers to meet you as well and get your feel of when you were writing the book or the characters as well,
Right.
which was amazing. So going to your mom's book club, I love that, you know. And then again, so what does your mom think of you as a writer and your life? Is she just so proud of you?
My mom sells more books than anybody I know. She has me send her bookmarks, and everywhere she goes, she still travels, she does everything. And she'll hand out my bookmarks. And if she'll say to people, "Oh, do you read?" And if they say yes, "What do you read?" Because my daughter's an author. So she's always selling my books. She's super proud of me. Both my parents have always been super supportive. They came to every time any of my shows were shot, they would come and sit in the audience and watch.
Mm.
And so she's just like my biggest cheerleader. She really is.
That is so beautiful. And your husband and boys, are they so proud of you and seeing you being so creative and reinventing yourself, which is, you know, I know men do it, but I see more and more women doing it, especially because of like, children and their careers and where they want to be in their lives. And it's kind of learning to suit themselves and their own needs and bringing out this beautiful, I call it kind of like the divine feminine energy. It's so strong and powerful, and it's not afraid to shine and show your creativity through writing or whatever it is. So, do they look at you and go, wow, this is our mom?
Yeah, it's interesting because my husband's a writer, so he's amazing and he's super supportive, and I've supported his career. My oldest son now wants to be a TV writer. He'd like to be in sitcoms, so he just got his first manager, and he's written before. He's written a couple shows that were produced. So he's manager is going to try to get him on staff, and he's a writer's assistant in the room right now, but he wants to be on staff as a writer. So that's happening. And then my youngest son is really creative on the computer. So he's actually in a program for visual effects in features. So he's doing that right now. So everybody in my family does something. And it's funny because I grew up in Los Angeles, but I didn't grow up around anybody that was in the business. Nobody. So I was the first person in my family or even anybody we knew that went into the business. And then I met my husband at both UCLA, but I also met him. I did an internship at what was Mary Tyler Moore Productions, and I met him there. And so he started writing. So it's like this funny thing because everybody thinks when you're in Los Angeles, you're surrounded by people in the business. Now we are, but it wasn't like that back when we were doing it.
Wow. Isn't that amazing? And that even that your sons are into, that side of the business, the creativity, and it's all shining. And I think again, I suppose if we give ourselves permission to shine our creative talents, that other people around us then say, maybe I could do that too. So you're kind of like a role model as well, Leslie, for other people. And I'm sure you've been in rooms where you've been speaking to women, and because of the reinvention and all of the things that you've done, that you're not afraid to try something new. And that's really powerful for other women to hear that maybe I could do something. I've always wanted to do this. Maybe when you're in the room and they hear you and they go, maybe I could.
Well, it's funny because I don't consider myself a risk taker. I don't think I was a risk taker growing up. And it wasn't until I was probably 40 that I started taking risks and saying, okay, I'm going to do something different. And I never liked the term midlife crisis, especially for women. I know people use it
Mm.
more on men, but to me, it's a midlife change. It's just that you're going to say, I'm going to start a new chapter, I'm going to change, and I'm going to take a chance. And it's not about a crisis because you might feel like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do, but it's really about just making choices and different choices than, you probably, some people I knew had careers like I did, and they'd stopped to have their kids, and then they could not get back in for whatever reason. So they also had to pivot. And then I had friends that were like teachers that took off 18 years and decided, you know what, my kids are older, I'm going to go back and be a teacher again. So it's just to find something else to do in later in your life when your kids are more independent and you've taken all your time to give to everybody else. It becomes the time I'm going to give to myself. I'm going to give myself this gift, whether it's research, whether it's just taking baby steps to change something. You don't have to do it
Mhm.
all at once because it's overwhelming. I mean, I took little baby steps. Going to that conference was a baby step for me. It
Mhm.
was just, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm not going to talk about writing. I'm not going to think what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go to this and I'm going to enjoy this while it's going on. If it sparks something great, which it did, but it didn't have to.
Mhm.
So I just feel like later in life, I've really taken many more risks than I ever would have taken growing up.
Yeah. Isn't that wonderful to hear? Again, is that because, as I said, through our life experience and we have taken, maybe the very small risks as we've seen them, but then as we are growing in age, then we kind of go, what have I got to lose?
Exactly. No, because you have nothing to lose. Either you stay in the same spot for 5 years, or you say, I'm going to move to do something in those 5 years.
Mm.
And you're still going to be 5 years older. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what spurred me on was it's like I'm still going to age no matter what. I'm still going to go
Mm.
through this time. And also watching my kids kind of go out there in the world and try to figure out, go to college and try to figure out what do I want to do was
Mm.
inspiring for me. It's like they had the whole world open up to them. They could take classes and say, oh my gosh, I love this or I hate this, and
Mm.
think that they want to go in one direction. And everybody's fine when kids change their major or go in a different direction or get out of school and don't do what they actually studied. And that's really great. And that kind of inspired me to say, well, why can't I do that? Why can't I figure out something else that I want to do to make myself happy? Because after the nutrition wasn't fulfilling me, I thought, okay, I'm just going to close my business. Like, how is that going to affect anybody other than my clients who I obviously gave a
Yeah.
lot of, time to? But it was about me at that point.
Yeah. And isn't it lovely to be able to say that as well, Leslie? And I know that you've published three novels and you've had a wonderful career, for writing sitcoms and your nutrition business. But that now you can say it is all about me. As you said, you've given to so many other people, and now it is about you and valuing yourself and what makes you light up in the world. And you're helping, with your books to light up other people's lives as well. And isn't that something we all want to be or to share with others is a little bit of our own light and that we can maybe give somebody, a little bit of joy or happiness by reading your books or as it was in the time looking at Roseanne, that you helped write for and all of the other sitcoms that you brought such laughter into people's homes as well. I just think that is a beautiful testament to you.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I'm glad that most of those sitcoms are still on the air, which is really nice because, well, first of all, I still get royalties from them, which is like crazy. And they're pretty good too, which is shocking. So that's always nice. But I love to when people say to me, I related to something in your book. I did felt not alone. I mean, I didn't know if somebody would this book. I mean, I said it on the back that she, takes her own life because I wanted people to know up front. I didn't want to do a trigger warning. I wanted people to know up front, not just that she passes away. And I got some amazing people who wrote me and said, my parent killed themselves. And I felt exactly like this. And this actually helped me. And those are my favorite reviews and letters to get and emails because that's why I write. I write because I want people to relate to me, relate to my books, but to not feel alone, to feel like whatever they're going through, somebody else understands. And that's really why I write also about women and all the different stages that women go through. I also have a comedic, humorous essay on Huffington Post about menopause. So I write about all kinds of different things, but I want people to relate to what I
Mm.
do
And I
and
think
to me.
that absolutely. And I think that is, again, as I said, one of the reasons I started this podcast is to, help people understand that they're not alone in whatever they're going through, because there is that element, I suppose, in all of our lives at some stage, even if you talk about your dad passing and being alone in your grief, even though you had siblings, but that we have to deal with it by ourselves, and you think nobody understands you, but then you open a book and it's talking about how they were feeling through their grief, and you go, oh, they get me, they know how I'm feeling. I just
Yeah.
think that is powerful. And I think it's just been a joy talking to you, Leslie. And I can only wish you every success and continued success with your new book, When People Leave, but with everything that you're going to do in the future as well. And I look forward to seeing you on the airwaves somewhere and seeing what you're going to do next. Because if we come back in 5 or 10 years' time, what's the odds Leslie has started something new?
I don't know what those odds are. I don't know. We'll see. But so far, I'm just continuously writing. But
Yeah.
thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed this.
Oh, it was wonderful to have you, and all across the world, which is wonderful. And it's just settling into nighttime for us, Leslie, and you're just going to have your lunch, I would say,
Yeah,
soon.
exactly.
I love it. I love it. But again, thank you so much. And for everybody, please do check out Leslie A. Rasmussen, author. You can find her on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and I'm sure if you even put in her name, you are going to find out loads of information, hear her speaking on different podcasts and different shows. And you'll all remember, I know most Irish people will remember Roseanne. So then they go, wow, she was the lady that helped write that. And they'll have a big smile and it'll bring back memories for them. And again, it'll bring them back to a time where there was laughter in their home, which is always wonderful. So thank you again, Leslie. And
Thank you.
I look forward to, all of our listeners and viewers getting to know you a little bit better. It has been a pleasure.
Same here.
Thank you. So, thank you very much to everybody. You
Thank
have been
you.
listening to the Sharon Fitzmaurice podcast. And please do follow Leslie A. Rasmussen, author. And you will find her, as I said, on all social medias. Please go over and follow her, check out her books, and send her a little comment that you heard her on the Sharon Fitzmaurice podcast. So, thank you for following and subscribing and for listening to all my inspirational guests. But until next time, take care of you.